Good afternoon, I'm Vashon Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The police are trying to ascertain whether an unreported conflict could have led to last night's incident in Dover, St. Catherine, in which gunmen shot 9 persons, 4 fatally. No motive has been established for the attack, which took place in the St. Catherine North Police Division, where a state of public emergency is currently in force. TVJ's Shamela Pullen has our report.
The usually quiet community of Dover, St. Catherine erupted Tuesday night after gunmen opened fire on a group of persons who were standing in the square. The incident happened minutes after 9.
I see 3 man come from Cherry District side. You see me? And the man, I could even send to the man, brother, I'm here, boy. Like the man turn the gun through the sun, through the bug wire, and start shoot people, And the man start run me down, Yeah, man, the man and start bush shot off of me, Run for me slippers, see the cut, I be a bush, me have to take my boss and maca, Cheat up on my bush up there, so me run go, You see, and the man divert, him pass me. We swing him pass me the gun in the hand, so. And he go up and car up there, so.
Head of the Corporate Communications Unit, CCU, in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, says the gruesome attack has left 4 persons dead and 3 others remain in hospital. Among those killed are 3 men and a woman.
We now have the identity of the individuals. We have a Gladstone Grange, he's 67 years old. Marcus White, 38 years old. Dennis Price, he's 46 years old. And Patricia King, 42 years old. And these persons are farmers and carpenters and all working persons from the community. Among the victims are males, and the youngest is 31 years old. So these are pretty much middle-aged persons.
The incident has residents fearful. Local political representatives who visited the scene have condemned the attack.
The community is a rural community. Very simple folk who live very simple lives. They do their farming, light, business, poultry rearing, for example, or they travel outside the community, work, and come back in. This is a very unusual occurrence. And of course, the community is in shock.
I feel very caught up about this thing, but apparently, as you know, that crime is a thing that we just cannot avoid. But we didn't want anything like this to happen, especially in this festive season. It's really a terrible task to each family because no one has really special amendment for these things to happen. And it happened in such times when everyone wants to have their enjoyment.
SSP Lindsay says no motive has been established for the incident. However, the St. Catherine North Police are receiving assistance from the Criminal Investigation Branch in the probe. SSP Lindsay says the assistance of residents will be critical.
And we're going to need the citizens to just tell us if there is any incident that was never reported to the police, any conflict with anyone. If they are aware of anyone from the community who is in any conflict with persons external to the community, because at the moment we are just following different lines of inquiry, but nothing concrete to even shape how the investigators will proceed.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang has commented on last night's shooting. At a press briefing at Jamaica House a short while ago, he said the incident may have been an escalation of an ongoing feud in another community. He suggested that the criminals may have been targeting relatives of a member of a rival gang.
Very close to home, because they were family members of a member of parliament, they were involved. The best information we have is emerging from earlier gang activity, which actually originated in the corporate area. It is the kind of activity that the police find at the current stage of police is almost impossible to prevent some of these activities.
On to other news now. Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, is this afternoon expressing concern about the recent fire at the Old Fort Market in St. James. It comes weeks after fire gutted a section of the Maypen Market in Clarendon, leaving over 200 vendors hopeless. It's still unclear what caused the fire at the Old Fort Market, which destroyed 4 shops, but Mayor Davis says these fires are a cause for worry.
any unfortunate accidents, whether by fire or otherwise, is something which is quite regrettable. But I don't know the reason for these periodical fires, and this is why an investigation is very important.
Mr. Davis says his team from the municipal corporation is conducting that investigation, after which they will provide the requisite help.
We haven't gotten the official report from the fire department as yet, but currently we are doing an estimate cost to replace those 4 shops. So as soon as that is done, it will be taken to the appropriate meeting for the appropriate action to be taken to have those shops rebuilt.
Parties can now be held longer than usual because of changes to the Noise Abatement Act. Parliament passed the changes to the law last night to allow parties to go on for longer during the festive season. Events are being allowed to go until 2 o'clock in the morning on weekdays and 4 o'clock on weekends. Parties are usually only allowed to go until midnight on weekdays and 2 o'clock on the weekend. It will remain in place until January 31. The National Security Minister, Dr. HORACE CHANG, says the bill is in response to calls from stakeholders.
This bill is a response to the call from the entertainment industry, the practitioners, community associates, and residents for there to be a review of the amendment of the current Noise Abatement Act. It's also a call from the police force, who find themselves being pressured to give extensions beyond the law. And the current atmosphere, we have insisted that the police abide by the law, and therefore they would not have the capacity to give extension to any individual seeking to have any entertainment activity during the holiday period. The bill is therefore a means of ensuring that over the period of the festive season, public order laws and regulations can be strictly carried out, notwithstanding the extension of these amendments.
And we appreciate what these provisions seek to attain, and we fully support that these changes. So without further ado, Mr. Speaker, I give my support and that of the opposition to the proposed amendments.
And it's now time for a break, but stay with us. More stories right after these messages. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Continuing the news now. The National Water Commission, NWC customers should expect an increase in their water bills come next year. This follows a decision by the Office of Utilities Regulations, OUR, to approve an overall increase of about 4% in water rates. On average, customers paying water rates will see an overall increase of between 15.5% and 17.8%. The new rates will be reflected in customers' bills starting January 2020. The OUR says this is an interim tariff for 24 months, as the NWC did not supply all the information requested, including a cost of service study and an asset valuation report needed for a full tariff assessment. The OUR, in its assessment of the NWC's tariff application, found weaknesses and major data gaps in the submission. Consequently, it has concluded that it would not be prudent to establish the normal 5-year tariff. The NWC will be expected to formally apply for a full tariff review 20 months after the effective date of this determination notice. That date is by August 2021. The Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, is this afternoon warning farmers in South Manchester and South St. Elizabeth to be on the lookout for an increase in the beet armyworm population. The Agricultural Authority says based on its recent beet armyworm risk assessment, there was an increase in the pest, which mainly affects scallion and onions. This, RADA says, is due to an increase in rainfall in October. RADA is calling for farmers to increase the monitoring of crops at least twice a week or every 3 days, utilize traps as a monitoring tool to detect early arrival of the mitigating beet armyworm adults, monitor for the early detection of the egg sacs often deposited near the tip of leaves, and ensure that the scallion crop is harvested and sold at maturity and not left in the field due to marketing issues. Areas mostly affected are Cross Keys and New Forest in South Manchester, Junction, Southfield, and the Pedro Plains in St. Elizabeth. News from the region. Now we go to the Bahamas. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands says that weeks after the passage of Hurricane Dorian, there are bodies that remain unclaimed in a refrigerated trailer on the island of Abaco. Dr. Sands says approximately 50 bodies have not been claimed. He says DNA samples have been taken and the expected time from DNA sampling until comparison and conclusion can be as long as 6 to 9 months. According to Dr. Sands, while the remains of a few storm victims have been sent to their families, the government might use an independent third party to act as an intermediary to enable undocumented migrants who may be fearful to identify the remains. He says health officials would like to curtail the length of time the bodies are kept in the Abaco trailer. And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we look at prostate cancer.
It's an abnormal growth of cells within the prostate, which starts with 1 or 2 cells, and then they multiply, get bigger, and then you get these tumors sat inside the prostate gland that then make this PSA that you can measure in the blood.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. If you want to reduce your risk of prostate cancer, consider trying to choose a low-fat diet. Foods that contain fats include meats, nuts, oils, and dairy products such as milk and cheese. Increase the amount of fruits and vegetables you eat each day and maintain a healthy weight by doing exercise activities.
News from overseas now. We go to the United States, where an hours-long standoff between 2 suspects and police ended with multiple people dead, including 1 officer. And according to authorities, the suspects targeted the location they attacked. More from the CNN.
A chaotic scene unfolding in Jersey City Tuesday following reports of an active shooter's standoff inside a local bodega. Heavily armed officers blocked off streets. Schools were placed on lockdown.
My daughter actually told me that there was a shooting in the area. So they actually, yeah, she said it was an active shooter scenario. They actually do drills for it.
Police say the situation began with the killing of Detective Joseph Seals and involved a stolen vehicle.
One stolen U-Haul vehicle that may contain an incendiary device that has since been taken from the location and is being examined by our bomb squad members.
The standoff at the bodega reportedly started around noon.
Our officers were under fire for hours.
I heard over 200 gunshots.
3 other officers were wounded in the gunfire but are expected to survive. 5 people were found dead inside the bodega. Police believe 2 suspects were among those who died.
There are days that require us to stop and think about what it means to put on a uniform every day. And God knows this is one of those days.
And time now for sports. Kyle Speedy Gregg and the co-driver Marcia Dawes joined an elite group of drivers to win the Rally Jamaica back-to-back, capturing the Richard Stewart Memorial Trophy over 2 days on the True Roots property in Bogwalk, St. Catherine.
Longer and straighter stages meant more consistent speed, and at the first stage, defending champion Kyle Gregg and Marcia Dawes lost to the pair of Thomas Hall and James Leacher by 0.03 of a second. From there on, Gregg and Dawes, driving their Evolution 9, took full control of the next 11 stages, winning 8, leading day 1 with 49 minutes and 28 seconds, ahead of Timothy Stewart and co-driver Stephen Gunter, who posted 51 minutes and 28 seconds, also winning Evolution 9. Hall and Leacher fell to third with 51 minutes and 32 seconds after losing their front windshield. Meanwhile, reigning champion Bobby Marshall and co-driver Marcel Brandon took full control of the front-wheel driver class, winning 9 of the 12 stages to finish day 1 with 58 minutes and 44 seconds. Rainer King and Ramesses McGregor won the first 2 stages, but fell to second, trailing Marshall and Brandon by a minute. On day 2, Gregg and Dawes, having a 2-minute lead, approached the famous water splash basically at a walk, but Stewart and Gunter splashed through as they tried to cut the lead. But it was Hall and Leacher who proved to be the fastest throughout the stage, winning all 5. The 6 Whitfield-long stages were the most competitive for the top 3 teams, as Hall and Lacher won 3, while Gregg and Dawes shared the next 3 with Stewart and Gunter. After 22 stages covering 159 kilometers, Gregg and Dawes posted 1 hour 49 minutes and 12 seconds to join Gregg's dad Gary and co-driver Hugh Hutchinson, along with Jeffrey Panton and Mike Fennell Jr. to win Rally Jamaica back-to-back.
It's truly a great feeling. I didn't expect to win this year because the level of competition was so good. But we kept our composure from day one and basically maintained the pace for day 2. Definitely, Marcia, she did a fantastic job in the navigating seat. And it shows that we set the bar at this sport.
Hall and Lacher, who received the Day 2 trophy, were runners-up 1 minute and 31 seconds adrift. Marshall and Brandon regained the 2-wheel drive class, posting 2 hours 5 minutes and 49 seconds, finishing 2 minutes ahead of King and McGregor. Only 7 of the 12 competitors completed the 2-day dirt rally. I am Denise Walters for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Don't forget to join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.